Hello and thank you for joining us on part 1 of this special episode of CRM Audio. My name is Gus Gonzalez, I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm a Business Solutions Microsoft MVP with a specific focus in Microsoft Dynamics 365. Although I didn't have the opportunity to serve my country, mainly because I grew up in South America and moved to the United States in my 20s and became a citizen when I was almost 30, since I came to this country, I've been passionate about our military. I remember my interest about our military started less than a year after I moved to the United States. One of my colleagues decided to leave his job in the IT industry to join our military and serve in Afghanistan. He was born in Afghanistan and moved when he was young with his parents to the United States in the early 90s after the Mush took control of the government 3 years after the Soviets left in 1989. His family was granted political asylum, and through hard work, he learned English and graduated high school here in the States. He went to college and began a career in IT. And then 9/11 happened. After the US forces moved into Afghanistan, he knew he had skills that were valuable over there. Language skills. See, growing up in Afghanistan allowed him to learn several languages spoken all over the country. He knew the accents of the people based on the region they lived, he understood social intricacies within the villages, and he decided that he could be a great asset on this fight against terrorism, so he left. He spent years in Afghanistan, and although I'm choosing not to disclose his name and the details about his unit or the job he did over there, I will just say that he wasn't sitting on a computer all day like he was at his previous job. I'll leave it at that. So for years, I've been passionate about our military. I've been learning a lot about it, reading books, and constantly looking for ways to give back. Last year, I was fortunate to be selected to lead a group of active duty U.S. Army personnel through a 3-month training program that prepared them for a transition from the military to a career in the IT industry. More specifically, in the Microsoft Dynamics CRM online industry. Many of those who graduated back in May of 2015 are currently working for Microsoft and other partners in the industry. The training program I was engaged on last year was part of a program Microsoft created called the Microsoft Software and Systems Academy, or MSSA for short. And although I was focused on a group stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Tacoma, Washington, I know the program operates beyond this base. All of this work within the MSSA is part of a bigger commitment from Microsoft and its team of military affairs led by retired Marine Corps Major General Chris Cortez. So I invited my fellow Microsoft MVP and good friend Sean Tabor to help me talk to some people related to this program. Sean comes from a military family and will be one of the mentors to the group of professionals graduating on December 16th, 2016, also known as JBLM Cohort Number 9. We will talk to former graduates, current students, and discuss all of the amazing work that the team at Microsoft Military Affairs has been doing. We will start with an interview of Mr. Cortez, and we will also feature former graduates from the program to learn about their experience and where they are in their careers right now. Also, perhaps talk to some of the current attendees. My goal after this program is that you have a clear picture regarding this amazing pool of talent. In an industry that continues to grow, filled with organizations constantly looking to add great team members to their ranks, the MSSA program is committed to help active duty military personnel with the education and guidance they need to succeed in our industry. And the value these individuals will add to the organizations they'll join will increase the quality level of our community as a whole. I hope this program gives you an opportunity to learn more about the MSSA program and to seriously consider adding some of these amazing individuals to your team. So let's start the show. Our first guest is the Vice President of Military Affairs at Microsoft, Major General Chris Cortez. Mr. Cortez spent 33 years as an infantry officer, and I wanted to learn more about him and the team he leads at Microsoft, and also how the idea of MSSA came about. Well, Mr. Cortez, thank you for joining our podcast.
Hey, Gus, it's my pleasure. Thank you for doing this so that more people can hear about what Microsoft's doing for our military and veterans.
Absolutely. And before we dive into the MSSA program, which is really our focus for this interview, can you tell us a little bit more about your career in the military?
Sure, I can. I served a little over 33 years in the U.S. Marine Corps. Some of the jobs that I did while on active duty was to command at the platoon, company, battalion, and regiment levels, I was assistant commander for the 1st Marine Division, which is about a 20,000 strong unit. In my last 2 assignments, second to last, I was director for operations of our United States Pacific Command, which operates in over half the globe with about 300,000 U.S. military personnel. And then my last assignment was as commanding general of the Marine Corps Recruiting Command, where over a 25-month period of time, we recruited around 38,000 young men and women to be United States Marines. So that's just in a nutshell my military background. And I can tell you that being part of Microsoft's mission to lead and challenge the IT industry, to provide opportunity for our military to fill the IT pipeline, that really inspires me. I know how talented our military men and women are. I understand recruiting. And when you look at the reality of 200,000 of our military leaving active duty every year, that means 1 million military people over the next 5 years are going to be looking for jobs. And that's why, this is an ideal opportunity for Microsoft and the IT community to try to seek our talented military for the IT industry.
Absolutely, and first, Chris, let me say thank you for your service. And as we're recording this, I'm looking at a picture of my dad in his dress, Marine uniform. So it's kind of poetic. I didn't even realize that until just a second. But when did you join Microsoft, and how did that come about to you to say, that could be a way I could continue to contribute to the military?
I joined Microsoft 10.5 years ago now. It was in 2006, and one of the things that I did right from the very beginning was, we have these employee network groups. Technically, we call them the Employee Resource Group, and in this case, our Microsoft military veterans. And I was immediately asked to be executive sponsor for that group, and I've done that the entire time I've been in the company. And I also worked with our account teams in the U.S. and in other countries that work with military organizations. So from the very beginning, I was able to reconnect and be part of things that we do with and for our military, and I never lost sight of where I came from and what our military was all about. And then just a couple years ago, in July of 2014, we stood up what we now call Microsoft Military Affairs. And once we did that, we really formalized some of the things that we are doing now in support of our military.
Awesome. And you do mention military affairs, and that was, I guess, my next question, which is, what does the Office of Military Affairs do, or what do they focus on at Microsoft beyond MSSA?
Well, my team, the military affairs team, reaches out and touches our military through, providing STEM education, engaging the veteran communities, advocating for employing our veterans, and it does it in more than just the MSSA, which I know we're going to talk about in more detail. But for example, we work with the U.S. Chamber, and they have a program called Hiring Our Heroes, and through that we are invited to join them in these transition summits that are held in bases all across the country. So we'll show up, we'll participate in roundtables, we may give a keynote here and there, we'll set up a table, and we'll have our Microsoft logo, and we'll meet transitioning military members, always looking for potential employees. But that's the U.S. Chamber. We work with Team Red, White, and Blue. As you recall, on 9/11, we did it last year, and just this past September on 9/11, we initiated the Old Glory Relay. Frank Shaw on September 11th started out at the Needle there in Seattle with the U.S. flag, and passed it on to a member of Team Red, White, and Blue near Safeco Field, and that flag made its way all the way down the west coast of the U.S., and then when it got to San Diego, it started across the southern states, and it ended up on Veterans Day in Tampa, Florida. Team Red and White and Blue is an organization that supports our veterans. It draws them out and makes them, tries to cement their relationships with their communities through social activities, through physical activities. So we work with Team Red, White, and Blue. We work with Student Veterans of America. Student Veterans of America, SVA, has over 600,000 student veterans in over 1,000 colleges and universities across the country. And what a great, talent pool they are. We work with Paralyzed Veterans of America and other veteran service organizations. So we're very engaged, and we're very aware of the greatness of our military community and our military veterans. So we're engaged, and we're going to stay there for the long haul.
That's amazing. That's a lot of really positive work for the military community, and I'm sure it's doing wonders. I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit more about the MSSA program, and where are you providing those benefits to military folks across the country?
Sure. We started at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington State, about an hour, 15-minute drive from our campus in Redmond. It was close. We wanted to test it, and it was so successful. We said, this is what we need to be doing. This is where we can find some great talent, and we can expand this program. So from there, we went to Camp Pendleton in California, and we're 3.5 years into this, and we just opened up in September at Fort Campbell in Kentucky, and just in October at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Fort Benning in Georgia. So today we're on 5 bases, but over the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to be working with 14 bases across the country. This program is going to be similar in all those bases. People that are interested in it can go to their education office and their transition office at each of their respective bases. They qualify through a number of ways on those bases, and once they make their way through a screening process, they become students of our Microsoft Software and Systems Academy program, MSSA, and they're off and running. An 18-week program. It's designed to prepare them for an entry-level position in the IT industry, and when they come out of it, they're going to be ready to do a number of things like cloud administration, database administration, business intelligence, cloud application development, and so forth. So it's a great opportunity, not only for our military, but for us too. For the IT employees are proving themselves to be outstanding. They're amazing. So it's just really goodness all around.
That's awesome. And how do you have this idea about the Microsoft Software and Systems Academy, and what's your favorite thing about the program?
Well, when you look at Microsoft, we have thousands of open jobs, and the IT industry has tens of thousands of open jobs because there aren't enough people trained in IT. And you take a program like this and you offer it to these highly talented military people. I mean, it's just a win-win. I can't say enough about the quality of the people and what great work they're doing, not only in Microsoft but in other companies as well. When we first started this thing, I mean, you could count on your hands how many companies that we reached out to and that said, okay, I'm interested. I'm going to participate in this. And now we're up to 170 companies that are working with us and hiring the military people that go through this program. I mean, that's awesome.
Absolutely, but we need more. We need more companies that are interested. And, another thing that I would like to know, since we're talking about the MSSA program, is what, and you talked a little bit about the plans about expanding to 14 bases, but are there any other things that you or the Office of Military Affairs, your team is thinking about the future, like where else to take a program such as the MSSA program?
Well, we're executing phase one, if you will. Phase one being, okay, we're going to start this program, Joint Base Lewis, McChord up in Washington State, Camp Pendleton, and then to the other bases that I just mentioned. And then our phase one master plan included 14 bases, such as Fort Carson in Colorado, the Joint Base in San Antonio, Texas, which includes Air Force and Army, the base at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, a Marine base, Quantico in Virginia, another Marine base, and then in Florida, Jacksonville, we're going to have what is called a community campus, where our education partner, Embry-Riddle University, has a facility, and they'll be able to host students from the Mayport Naval Station and Jacksonville Naval Air Station. So 2 bases will have access to this opportunity at that one community campus. Another community campus will open up in the San Diego area. Now, remember, we're at Camp Pendleton in Oceanside, California, Southern California, but closer to San Diego, we're going to have a community campus. Again, it's another location that's run by Embry-Riddle University, and military members from the Miramar Marine Air Station, from the 32nd Street Naval Base, and from the Naval Air Station in North Island, all 3 of those locations will be able to access this facility and go through this program. So as we expand over the next year and a half, we're going to be reaching out and touching 14 bases. And if I can just take a second and say, look, we're crawling. We're still crawling. And in 3.5 years, we've graduated just short of 400 students. But once all these bases open up and they're up and running and a 12-month period of time goes by, now you're talking 1,000 graduates every 12 months. And it might be just a dent in this huge hole that we have in the IT industry, but it's the right place to be, and it's the right time to be there.
I can't agree with you more. I think that's exciting how you're spreading that out and giving those opportunities to the servicemen. But really, how can we in the private sector and with the partners, how can we help, and how can other organizations in our industry help you get to where you need to be?
Before I answer that, I want to point out that just in the 3.5 years, and with only about 400 graduates, that 90% of the graduates make it through this program, and 90% of those are either employed today, or a handful have gone back to college. And of the ones that are employed, 90% of those are working in the IT industry. That I would point out that the starting salary, the national average for the folks that have gone through MSSA and got employed by one of those 170 companies, that average salary is $70,000. And let me share with you a story that when I was visiting, it happened to be the Marine base there at Camp Pendleton, and I was talking about that starting salary, and one of the young Marines raised his hand and said, "Sir, that's 4 times what I make today." And he said, "Because I live on the base, so I don't get a living allowance for living off base. I eat my meals on the base at the military mess hall, and so, I don't get an allowance for food. So I am currently making $18,000 a year." So I just kind of want to point that out, because our military members, when they get an opportunity like this, it is game-changing for them. This means a lot. This means a whole different life for them and their families. So I I'm pointing this out because our partner companies have an opportunity here to really hire talented professional people. And, they can connect with us directly. They can go online and go to military.microsoft.com, WAC training, WAC MSSA. They can find their way into our network, and every student that goes through this program is guaranteed an interview by Microsoft. But once they go through this process, these other 170 companies have access to them. We are working with a company called Lee Harrison to work with our students. Jobplex is a company that helps us find jobs for our graduates. Another site that I would point our partners to would be military.microsoft.com WAC hiring partners, all one word, hiring partners. But Gus, I got to tell you, there's opportunity here for our partners, and we would like nothing more than to have as many partners as we can engaged and working with these great military folks that are going through this program. And Gus and Sean, anything that you can do to encourage those partners, would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. We're committed to that, and we really hope to continue to promote the program, because I personally have had the luck of participating in 2 of the cohorts at Joint Base Lewis McChord. I've been on base multiple times. I was there when they graduated back in May, the first cohort that I worked with, cohort number 4. And the cohort number 9, which is the next group that I'm working with, or that we're working with this time around, graduates on December 16th. And I would love for nothing more than to see a lot of the partners to listen to a podcast like this one, to come out and interview these guys, give them a chance to become members of the team. I personally lead a company that is small. We have 7 employees, and I wish I could hire them all. But I've talked to several partners out there that have said that they let me know when they graduate and we'll hire them all. So I think that as we see, the program grow and look into the graduates being in the thousands every year, I think that there's nothing more exciting for partners than to hear that a lot of military guys are going to come out and be able to join and help the teams at these companies. So I'm really excited about it, and I wish you and your team Godspeed on all the initiatives that you and the team are working on, and the initiatives that you're planning on working on as well. And obviously, thank you for your service. Thank you for letting us help a little bit as much as we can, and we'll continue to push for that. Any final comments you wish to add?
Well, I want to thank you, Gus, for being a mentor and participating in both of those cohorts, because you're right, Microsoft employees participate in every one of our cohorts. They're there either via Skype or in person, and they're there weekly, and they're talking to the students as they go through the experience. They're answering questions. They're talking about what it's like to work in Microsoft, what it's like to work in the IT industry. And they see a real person who's really working in the IT industry, and it makes it more real. And it makes a difference. It's a huge thing for them to have people like you that go into their classroom and spend time with them. So I want to thank you for that. And I guess, as we leave today, I would thank you both, Gus and Sean, for doing this podcast, for trying to get the word out there. And, I encouraged our partners to reach out to these military members, because they're absolutely talented. They bring so much to any company. They're valuable employees, and they will absolutely make your company better. So thanks, Gus, and thanks, Sean. It's been my pleasure.
Been an honor, sir. Thank you.
All right, for our second interview, we have Anthony, who's a graduate from the MSSA program. Anthony, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Gus?
Good, good. So tell me a little bit about you and what do you do on the military?
Well, in the military, I was a counterintelligence agent, mostly trying to collect information using people, because people, they see things, they hear things. So my job was to find individuals that can collect the information we needed, so we can, protect troops, protect civilians. Also, less military-related stuff, like just trying to figure out what is the mood in the area that we're in, and how could we make it better. It's a lot of times it's as simple as improving the economy through more businesses, or improving agriculture so there's better access to food and things like that.
Awesome. That's great. And where were you stationed?
I've been stationed all over. I spent most of my times overseas. I did about 8 years overseas in the Asia area. I did 2.5 years in Okinawa. Then I went over to Seoul, South Korea for another 2.5 years, and then ended up back in Okinawa, Japan. The second time wasn't planned.
It wasn't planned. That's interesting.
Yeah, a little mixed up, but as far as I was concerned, it's like Okinawa, Japan is like a tropical island. It's very
That's
similar
right.
weather conditions to like Hawaii. So I really enjoyed it the first time, and I still enjoyed it the second time.
That's great, and thank you for all the work you did. How do you end up finding out about the MSSA program? How do you end up signing up for it? What was the process like?
Well, there was a group from the MSSA that actually came down to our unit and spoke to us about the program. And no, the program was still very new, and they still hadn't really figured out how to process service members into the program itself. So a lot of it was figuring it out. What forms did you need? I remember there was a waiver that I was required to complete because I wasn't a first-term Marine, and basically you just had to figure out exactly what the format, what the letter and the waiver was, and figure out who was supposed to sign it. So it took a lot of effort personally because people were still trying to figure out how we can get active duty service members into this program.
Makes sense. And do you know, automatically when you heard about it, do you know that's what you wanted to do, or was it sort of like that's the only option I have? How was it? How was that part?
Well, I was actually in the planning process. I decided that I wanted to transition out of the military. I was almost at 12 years, and a lot of individuals told me, do 8 more years, you can retire. But I was more interested in getting back into, the civilian world and started my career, because I didn't want to start my next career 8 years later. I wanted to start it, while still, somewhat young.
Makes sense. When do you go through it? When was that?
I went through the program in February of 2015. Graduated in June. I interviewed at Microsoft in July, and actually started working here in August.
That's awesome. So what was your favorite part about the program?
I think the value that I saw the most was the mentorship from Microsoft employees. Most of them were prior military service members, and they had figured out how to, transition out of the military and how to find jobs in a technology field, and also just find jobs at Microsoft, which is one of the most prestigious technology company you can work at. So these individuals had a lot of information, a lot of value, and they really cracked the code on how to get hired at Microsoft. But this is the first program that was really, really dedicated to helping military service members find careers outside of the military, but not just any careers, really good careers, something worthy of their experience and their abilities.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you graduated from the program, you went to Microsoft. What do you currently do at Microsoft?
I am a software engineer on the volume licensing team. Enterprise commerce is not always the most exciting thing for most people, but for me, I actually have a bachelor's in business, which I'd completed before I got out. So I was incredibly fascinated by the enterprise system and how Microsoft, their partner enterprise system, which is kind of like the envy of most other companies dealing in licensing. So it's been an incredible opportunity to be in this company, in this team, and seeing how it actually operates, how this machine that really brought Microsoft billions of dollars, and they invented the licensing system. So just seeing how the inventors of it has really fine-tuned and perfected the licensing system from a business standpoint was very exciting.
That's awesome. So this episode is obviously a special episode about the Microsoft Software and Systems Academy, and a lot of people in our industry will listen to it and will start wondering, should I bring some of these guys into my team, or what's the value that we can get from hiring some of these graduates into our team? What would you tell companies that are considering bringing some MSSA graduates to their companies?
Well, I heard this one study, whether or not, I'm not sure it's true or not, but I heard this study about where they were trying to have two groups of individuals tackle a complex problem. One group was a group of very intellectual, very high IQs, all experts in this field, and another group which was more diverse, like everyone had a very different background. And they determined that that having that diverse backgrounds meant that everyone had a different point of view, and everyone had a different lens which they saw the problem in. And because of that, they were able to provide input that no one else could provide in that group, which helped them to solve the problems a little bit faster. And I think they were trying to impress that, like, you can put a room full of geniuses, and by adding another genius into that mix, you haven't increased their ability. Everyone's already a genius. By adding more geniuses to the room, you haven't really increased their problem-solving ability. But adding diversity, adding a different way of looking at a problem, that does help you solve a problem, maybe in a way that you never thought of. And I feel like military service members do that. We're used to solving problems. A lot of times, it's life or death problems. So we're able to deal with stress on an extreme level, and we're also able to think and solve problems very quickly, and especially when there is no other choice but to solve that problem. And I think that is why you want a military service member on your team, because they're going to be able to work hard, they're going to be able to work as a team, they're going to be able to provide solutions that you might not have thought of.
Absolutely. When it comes to to any stressful situation or any decision making, it's tough to beat guys in the military that are able to, stop, look around, prioritize and execute, make a call, and resolve the problem or tackle a challenge in a different way. So I love that, and I hope that people that are listening to this episode also understand that and are able to give some of the graduates a chance to begin on their teams and start adding value. So thank you so much, Anthony, for the quick interview. I really appreciate it, and thank you for your service, and continued success on your career. And with this interview, we have reached the end of part 1 of our Microsoft Software and Systems Academy special episode. Part 1 focused on laying out the foundation we will build upon our final episode for this MSSA special. Part 2. On part 2, we will have more interviews with past graduates, and we will get to know some of our current students at cohort number 9, as well as the mentors committed to helping these students begin a career in our industry. You don't want to miss part 2. And I hope that if you learn about the MSSA program through these 2 special episodes, you will find a way to help us enable these service members to get after it.
This has been CRM Audio, the Microsoft Dynamics CRM podcast. You can hear previous episodes on our website, crm.audio. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, follow us on Twitter at CRM Audio, or leave us a comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/CRM podcast. If you have any topic suggestions or questions that you would like for us to answer on a future episode, please drop us an email at voice@crm.audio. Special thanks to Dale Simmons for our theme music. Go check out his website, dalesimmons.com. Please join us next time on CRM Audio.